Okay, everybody, I'm Taylor Sharp. Welcome to the FileMaker Pro User Group, Dallas, Texas. Today is March 2026. We're glad to have all of you here in-house and all of the virtual people that are joining us. We're going to have an exciting presentation on FileMaker and MCP. If you don't know those acronyms, you will soon, so it'll be good and exciting. Next month's presentation about CWP snippets. So I don't know if you guys have ever had to be a FileMaker developer like me, but you work with a company that's got some web developer and they always want to do something like in WordPress. WordPress has all these templates and plugins and stuff. It plays well with MySQL. It's not ever played well with FileMaker. That's what Ron is going to come next month, show us how you can use WordPress to play well with a FileMaker database instead of a Microsoft SQL Server or a MySQL database. In May, we have Dennis Burnham coming to talk to us about making merchant payments, credit card stuff. He's got a new way to do it cheaper, faster, simpler. In June, Kate Waldhauser is going to be coming to speak to us. Violet Beacon, she's a Texan. She's going to come up from Southeast Texas and come join us, so we'll be glad to have her then. Our July meeting is going to be changed. I was going to do audit logging with Chris Conger. We're probably going to do that in September if he agrees to that. Then we're up to August. So if we're going to talk about August, Heather is going to be our presenter, and we look forward to have her. Claris is not doing an Engage this summer. No big FileMaker Developer Conference. However, there are a number of other ones out there. The one that I'm working with is the full access one. It'll be small, probably 50 to 80 people type thing, but it should be a lot of fun. And the nice thing about it is when you pay for it, everything's included. Food, lodging, full access has everything. There's going to be a lot of presenters like we had last time, but one of the benefits is that conference is just within a few miles of the Claris headquarters, so invariably what you do is you have a bunch of the Claris engineering team shows up. And last year, Ryan even came. I hope he'll come again this year. So if you got a really big budget, they've got the one over in Melbourne next October. I think Engage U is going to be in Europe also in October. If you want to travel internationally, their conferences. Okay, Heather's got a question right here.
Just want to say, in addition to that, there's Elevate FM in Toronto the first week of June.
Okay, I forgot about that. Toronto, Elevate will be first week of June. Yes, so that's coming up in Toronto. So that's another opportunity to attend. And are one of you guys speaking there or something? Heather is, okay. Pippa? No. Never totally worn that out? Okay. She's an expert in many things. And the last announcement we have, Hawk Air Conditioning is here with us today with two of their FileMaker developers, but their owner, CEO, whatever you are, Doug, and he's actually looking for a developer full-time in-house on location. Any FileMaker developers that are looking for a job in-house on-prem type thing, Doug, wave. Doug is the guy to get, and they have a couple other FileMaker developers here, Stephen and Landon. Glad to have you guys check with them if you have anybody you can refer to them. Okay, without further ado, we're going to move on. Our next presenter or speaker is going to be Mike.
Okay, thanks, Taylor. FileMaker and AI will get more intertwined over the next couple of years, and Harmonic is in the middle of this evolution. We will be unable to interact with an AI superintelligence at scale without it changing our personal, business, and psychological baselines. Our business customers want to take advantage of AI's transformative abilities in profitability, customer service, product quality, and quality of life. Taking control of AI will require secure on-site systems. Because in today's AI world, cloud costs are exploding, pricing is unpredictable, and data privacy risks keep growing. Why take these chances? Shared servers, huge exit fees, compliance headaches when there's a smarter way. Yes, Zerowait's simple converged solutions with our Simple Start PE at the heart. Backed by over 25 years of expert system and networking engineering, building affordable, high-performance servers. Tailored for AI, using proven ZFS tools for snapshots, encryption, deduplication, and full data control. Compute, storage, and networking together perfectly, no cloud surprises. Low risk, high reward. 24/7 US-based support, guaranteed parts, no forced upgrades, systems that last. The reward is huge, true data sovereignty on your premises, predictable costs, faster AI workflows, and complete control over your most valuable asset, your data. Your secure sovereign AI future starts here and is surprisingly affordable. And appreciate Harmonic. This is going to be a great presentation. Thanks.
Welcome to FMPug March 2026. We are going to talk about the somewhat new Claris MCP product. Actually, what we're going to talk about is why do I care about the Claris MCP product. All right, here's the goals. I'm going to set the stage with answers to what is MCP, what is Claris MCP, how are we going to answer the question of why should you care. Next, Anthony is going to talk about how Harmonic uses MCP and other AI tools in our solutions. And finally, Brian is going to talk to you and walk you through a demo that we built that will hopefully show off the power of MCP, Claris MCP. Introductions. All right, my name is Matthew Monroe. I am one of the owners here at Harmonic, and my official title is Chief Technologist. Now, I don't actually know what that means, but what I do is I play with new toys. I break them, and if I like them, we use them in our solutions and sometimes write presentations on them. When I'm done, you will hear from Anthony. Anthony is our senior full stack engineer. That is a fancy title that basically means Anthony does all the things. In a given day, Anthony will have performed DevOps functions, helped QA various workflows, tested new FileMaker features, written new customer-facing code, launched Docker containers, scanned server logs for poorly written SQL statements, all while designing solutions in the back of his head to problems that we haven't even asked him to solve yet. Finally, you will hear from Brian. Brian is a FileMaker engineer, but he is also a Python developer, an LLM specialist, a prompt tinkerer. He is our chief ETS critic and a new feature prophet and evangelist. Okay, so let's start by taking a brief journey through some of the AI LLM topics that we presented in the past, because I think it is going to give some interesting perspective into why we think Claris MCP is going to be a game changer for how we deliver certain types of solutions. We keep using this phrase, game changer, and it is starting to get tired, but it is in fact a fact of life at this point. AI LLM integration is disrupting software development, and for us Claris developers, this is the latest piece. Harmonic's software philosophy has always been use the best tool for this solution. If the best tool is old school, we go old school. If new tech isn't fully baked, we go old school. If old school works but is really slow, we adopt the new tech. We don't push tech that we don't believe in, and we don't get paid to carry water for anybody's pet solution. As such, our AI LLM adoption has been deliberate and at a pace that doesn't threaten Harmonic's ability to deliver consistent, reliable solutions for our clients. So here's a brief, high-level summary through our journey thus far. Last May, we did a presentation on a new script step called Perform Semantic Find, which utilizes vector embeddings to allow a user to search for content in a given field in the very imprecise, vague, minimal way that our users tend to use such things. It solves the "it should just know what I mean" problem. Also last May, we presented on the Perform SQL Query by Natural Language script step. This feature allows users to perform that same imprecise query without explicitly knowing where to look. It solves the "it should know what I mean" and "it should know where to look" problem. Last August, Alex presented on the Generate Response from Model script step. This allows users to ask an imprecise question about information that isn't really even in their database. They can chat with an AI agent, reformat their reports, or augment their data all without leaving their solution. It solves the "it should take my data and use it to do my job for me" problem. Last September in South Carolina, we presented on utilizing local hardware, local LLMs, instead of using public models. It is important to our clients that they execute their acts of precision in a safe and secure manner. After all, in certain markets, moving your data into a public server isn't just merely a fireable offense, it may just be a prosecutable offense. This solves the "I did all of this and kept my job" problem. In November, we presented on how we might fine-tune a local model to execute its tasks in a way that are more compatible with your specific use cases. It solves the "yes, I know that word has 4 meanings, you should assume better" problem. Also, in November, we presented on the new RAG technology built into FileMaker Server that allows a user to chat with their own corporate documents. This is a much more approachable than fine-tuning, and it solves that document was TLDR, but I want everyone to think that I read it problem. And finally, last month, we presented on how to utilize most of what we've learned thus far to formulate a workflow to create Claris Studio forms, all without the manual labor. It solves the Claris hasn't yet shipped the read my mind and create a form for me feature problem. And now you are here. So thanks to Claris, we are now able to present on MCP. So what problem does this solve for us developers? What problems does it solve for our end users? Does it allow me to be more lazy yet still get more done? By the way, what the heck does MCP mean anyway? Model Context Protocol. That tells me almost nothing. What and who comes up with these AI acronyms? Allow me to get on a brief soapbox here for what may be the least helpful title for one of the most helpful tools. Oh wow, Model Context Protocol. What a triumph of marketing malpractice. They took one of the most genuinely useful ideas in recent AI, giving models a standardized, persistent way to actually remember and build on what's happening in a long conversation, and slapped on an acronym so bland and meaningless, it could double as the name of a 1997 enterprise middleware product nobody remembers. MCP. Sounds like a dial-up modem protocol or a forgotten graphics card driver, or maybe the noise your boss makes when he's trying to sound technical in a meeting. Meanwhile, modern creative processing would have at least hinted that this thing helps models be less forgetful goldfish and more like actual creative partners. But no, we got Model Context Protocol, the acronym equivalent of naming your revolutionary new sports car transportation device V42. Truly bold, guys. Someone give the naming committee a participation trophy and a lifetime supply of beige. This paragraph was actually generated in a result of a snarky conversation I had with Grok about how bland all of these AI acronyms are. Okay, on a more serious note, MCP is really actually a standard. It is a protocol. MCP is what we use to do tool calling. When we ask Grok to elaborate on a news story or look up a stock price, it is making a tool call. It wasn't trained on what just happened. MCP is like an API that AI agents can immediately understand. Or let's put it better. It helps the AI agent immediately understand how to properly speak to a given API. The most common metaphor I keep hearing is how it's USB-C, a protocol for extending the capabilities of your laptop. The metaphor breaks down pretty quickly, but I think the immediate point is this. My laptop by itself cannot print out this slide. Plug, snap, click, now it can. With MCP, I don't need to understand the arcana of some rando API. I now don't even really need to ask Grok to explain it to me like I'm 5. Take this data, do the right thing with it. I can just say, take this, create me a record. Specifically, the Claris MCP gives an AI agent access to our solutions via the OData layer and can figure out how to format the CRUD and execute our workflows. I think it's going to take a while for the implications to sink in. I'm still coming to new realizations every time I play with it. I thought of 8 things to add to this slide, but didn't this morning. But this is my main point. You don't just read about it. Don't just listen to others talk about it. Play with it. Put it into practice and watch how it changes how you interact with your solutions and how it changes how you build your next solution. It used to be, way back 5 months ago, that you had to configure the heck out of your MCP server instance. It would take several days sometimes even to create and tweak a huge pile of JSON needed to define your software package so that an LLM could drive and steer around your MCP tools. Claris has simplified a lot of that. By pointing their MCP server tool at your solution through the OData connector in your FileMaker server, it discovers the schema and scripting and creates for you all of the necessary tools. Then it provides you with GUI tools for fine-tuning, enabling and disabling tool calls, and adding further context to a given script to allow an LLM to properly pick the right tool for the right job. When you are done setting it up, and it took me about an hour in this case, you've and you've pointed an agent to the Claris MCP server endpoint, you can now have your preferred AI agent be your UI. Now, I'm not going to walk you through all of the mechanics. We are not intending for this to be a how-to or a follow-along. And there are lots of excellent resources provided by Claris on how to get all this hooked up. And I'll refer to a few of them here. Now, those of you familiar with my snark know that I am not very complimentary on most documentation. However, I have found the ones that are up here to be pretty well done. I especially thought the Claris Community Live 4.1 event to be super helpful. So instead of a walkthrough, I just wanted to demonstrate how it works in an effort to answer the question why you should care. This is a diagram I pulled from one of those Claris articles.
What do you want to demonstrate?
That gives, that gives a broad overview of the architecture involved here. So a user, and that's me right there, speaks naturally to an AI agent about some task they want to accomplish, filling out a time card entry, looking up current sales objectives, inquiring about any new tickets assigned to me. The AI agent has no inherent knowledge of any of this, but it does have access to tools that it can use to answer those questions because it loaded into its context the model context for your solution via the Claris MCP server. It can now direct a create or a read, update or a delete, or execute call to your solution via the Claris MCP server to perform that task for you. So the Claris MCP server is only given access to the items in your solution that you choose for it to have. It is beholden to all the same permissions that are used to establish, that you're used to establishing via the security panel and FileMaker. And the Claris MCP server can further be restricted from certain actions via the MCP configuration panel you see here. In fact, in our demo, I explicitly gone and told it that it can't delete anything. No reason to do that. Note, Claris MCP, not really any MCP server in general, does not store your data. It's not its point. It does not give just any agent or a LLM direct access to your schema or data, only those that you have given it the authorization to. So more on all this later. Claris got a lot of things right with this most recent MCP release. They simplified the setup and discovery of applicable schema. They maintained existing security and permissions methodology, and they vastly simplified the MCP configuration process. There's a few things, however, that I would like to see Claris improve on. I would like it to be local. Harmonic wants to be able to tell our clients all, only, ever, local and private, or private. It's not that I don't trust Claris, but I have customers that are simply not able to utilize a public server like this. I would like it to be shareable. I set up and configured the MCP server for this demo by logging into my Claris Studio account, but currently none of my team can see or edit this MCP. I would like to see some logging. We live and die sometimes by our FileMaker server log data. So when something goes not as planned, my first call is usually to go look through a log file somewhere. And flexibility, my kingdom for copy, paste, duplicate, and templating. Goodness. Yes, I know, I'm just being picky, but all right, now I'm going to hand the reins over to the rest of the team, but I first wanted to set the stage for the demo that we've cooked up. It is loosely based on some of the workflows of one of our customers, Nickels and Dimes. They operate a number of family entertainment centers. When I was a kid, I called them arcades, but now they are arcade, food, and entertainment centers. In addition to that, they operate a number of games located in open areas of various malls and shopping centers. These mostly fall under the category of crane or claw machines. They are coin-operated and card-operated. They run on their own, but they need to be manually restocked, maintenanced, and cash and card revenues need to be obtained. So what would it look like to operate a route full of these coin-operated machines? How could we build a system that would allow for a super flexible way for a user to report on revenue, inventory, and maintenance when servicing a given route? Let's just use FileMaker Server plus Claris MCP plus an AI agent to find out. So before we dive into that, though, I want to invite Anthony to give you guys some insight into the tooling and workflows for how we would deliver this solution. Most of the Claris MCP demos that you will see recommend using Claude desktop app and talking to a public Anthropic model of some sort. Harmonic has some alternate ways to attain the same results, but in a more private or local fashion. Take it away, Anthony.
Good morning. I strongly believe that your AI infrastructure and your data matter much more than you might think. I want to share why Harmonic has gone the route it has, not as the template to follow, but to open the door as to what's possible and start a conversation about what makes sense for you. Right now, it's really cheap and easy to get a big AI subscription for your business. Even Claris invites you to use their new MCP with Claude Desktop and public models. People just really don't have to think all that much about infrastructure. And that kind of concerns me. We're leaning more and more heavily on AI and LLMs and not stopping to think about what that really means. Heavy dependence on OpenAI and Anthropic will present itself as a larger and larger vulnerability to your business. From a monetary standpoint, what you get for your subscription is going to be thinned out. These companies can only afford to lose billions a year for so long. You heard me, billions. They'll look to profit by raising prices and clamping down harshly on usage. Just how much of a hit can your business afford to take when they decide to 2x, 10x, 100x their prices? Also, from a data perspective, feeding your business into the machine means you're training your future competitors. There's no secret that you're paying them for the privilege of handing over your information so that they can use that training data for the next generation of models. You have to consider, and that's not even getting into all of the regulatory issues with sharing very sensitive data. So I want to invite you all to take some time to think about your infrastructure and take some control of your data. I'd like to do that by explaining what we've done so far. We're running things in two places right now. In the cloud, we're using AWS Bedrock to serve models. It gives us access to larger models, faster compute for things like agentic workflows and demanding tasks, something that we can use without worrying about our data being used for training. I use it a lot personally because the larger models are better at things like tool calls, and I can feed them a lot of context, and it really doesn't break a sweat. In the office, we have a Mac Studio Ultra, a powerful little machine we use for all sorts of things, like running this production. For AI, we've used the MLX framework on the machine to fine-tune some models, and we're hosting LLMs through Llama CPP. It's nice having a machine in office because we don't have to worry about internet outages. And we can run long, computationally expensive tasks without worrying about data privacy and paying extra for compute. All of it is local. We're able to do things like vision-based tasks, process audio, and local models continue to get better every day. Now, Bedrock and Llama CPP aren't easy to use on their own. To make things convenient, we've set up a web UI called LibreChat Connected Boat. It authenticates through our AD, and we've set up MCP tools for the company, like access to our ticketing system, and of course, the Claris MCP for interacting with FileMaker. Everything is accessible in one place. It's all self-hosted, and we're able to build out more tools for the entire company without a ton of setup. To demo our approach to LLMs and some of the capabilities of the Claris MCP, I'd like to welcome Brian onto the stage.
All right, so Thank you, Anthony. This segment's going to be a little more hands-on, but I want to set things up a little bit and give you a quick reminder about what we're doing. This is the kind of chat most of us are familiar with. General purpose models are great, but they don't know anything about your database, as Matt alluded to. An MCP server provides your model with a deeper understanding of your tables and scripts. And so with MCP, it looks a little more like this. The model is off having its own chat with your MCP server and combines that with its own massive training set. Ergo, responses are much more helpful. And you get all of this without a RAG, no vector embeddings, no regression training, none of that. Let's imagine a scenario where AI has taken my software engineering job. So I'm blasting out resumes, getting hard to imagine, right? Yeah. So I'm sending out resumes, I'm getting ghosted by recruiters, it's awesome. So I end up taking a job stocking vending machines, soft drinks, Cokes if you're from Texas, soda if you're from up north. So what would some of my tasks be for a job like this? It would involve routes, locations, vending machines, of course. I'd want to report the revenue data back to the database at some point. And occasionally I might need to file a maintenance ticket. And maybe I've never even heard of FileMaker. I'm just a soda guy. My company gave me this chat bot. They said it's going to use MCP, so whatever that means. All right, so the way this works at a really high level is we have a database and we have tables. So hopefully everybody's keeping up so far. We've also written a few scripts to create records, fetch records, gather report data. What we need to do, though, is expose those scripts as tool calls so that our model can use them and help us out. Now, I'm not going to step through these scripts. There's nothing special going on. It's the same stuff that you'd write and probably attach to a button bar and put on a layout. What I want to do, though, is point out that these scripts use a pattern, generally. So first, we'll gather some input parameters from the chat. We take that and fire off our find request or whatever. And then we finish off with an exit script that has a JSON result object. That result is what gets sent back to the model and is used to help generate the reply that we see later. So where do these tools get defined exactly? This happens in the Claris AI workspace. You start there by creating a context, and that's going to result in a few things. Some of those you'll get for free. Other bits you'll need to fill out yourself. One of the things that you get for free is a config JSON object. It's a pretty simple object, but importantly, it contains the URL for your model and an auth token. So pretty typical API stuff. And then back in your model, you'll copy and paste this config JSON somewhere in your developer settings. If any of you have used ChatGPT or Claude to help manage your calendar or your email, it works exactly like that. And so once you've made this connection, the model then can read your table schema, and it's going to generate some tools for you. One set of the tools will be for CRUD operations, so creating, editing, deleting records, and so forth. These tools are ready to go out of the box. But it's also going to generate a set of tools based on your scripts, and this is the part that you'll need to finish out. So the input schema tab is where you go to define a tool's properties or parameters. Property name, the data type, whether it's required or optional. For the description, we're basically just prompt engineering here. So just give it something helpful, and the model will know better than how and when to use that particular tool. So let's do a chat and try this out. I'm going to make 5 or 6 requests in the chat. First, I'll ask the model about which tools I have available. I'll ask it to fetch my routes. Once I arrive on site, I'll have it help me locate the machine that I need to service. I'll submit a revenue report back to the database, and I'll file a maintenance report. All right, so this is a Libra chat that Anthony was talking about earlier. Up here at the top, we've got our Claude Opus 4.6 private model hosted with AWS Bedrock. We connected to our routes database, Claris MCP, and we are ready to chat. So I'm the new guy at this vending machine job, and right now I don't even know what I can do with this thing yet, so let's ask it. What tools are available? This is live, so prayers are appreciated. We didn't record this. So, welcome aboard, be Hamm. I get a welcome message even. It's going to give me a list of all the tools that are available and some of the ways that I could use those when they'd be appropriate. Super helpful. Let me say my username is Hamm, but I forgot my user ID number. No worries. All right. So it's going to call a tool real quick, and it has reported back that my user employee ID number is 10002. Great. Now I know it's available. I've got my username. Let's go ask it about my routes. Our routes. It's going to make a couple of tool calls here. Got my routes. They're formatted, easy to read table. This is exactly what I want. Two things to note here. One, it remembered who I am from the previous request. And second, I'm not writing a SQL query. I'm not the one making the API call here. It's super casual chat. There's no syntax, but the models are really good at inference. And so we can talk to it the same way we could talk to a manager or a coworker. So I've arrived on site at one of these. Where is the... I'm just going to copy this rather than type it. Machine located. Going to run a tool call. So I've got directions. I've got placement, name of the machine, serial number, and so forth. I even have a map for Google Maps. So this is great. Let's get this cheddar and report our revenue back to the database. At the machine, I want to make a revenue report. This time, though, this is not a simple query. This is a little more defined, right? We can still chat casually about it, but we need to provide certain parameters here. Some of these data points are going to be required by the tool. If we omit any of those data points and the model can't infer it, it's going to follow up with us. So we'll have some back and forth until it has everything it needs in order to execute the tool call. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and tell it I need to make this revenue report. Yeah, this is pretty quick. This is live, not waiting very long. It's not like some of the thinking models. Yeah, I've got some, let's see, route. It's asking me which route. So I'm just having a conversation with it. I'm not having to be formal or there's any kind of particular structure. So it just needs the numbers from me. So it's giving me an example about what it needs. So I'm going to say cash. We'll say $50 card revenue. I don't know, $20 sales. What is that, 70? So we'll just make it easy. That's just units. And then any comments. And comments are optional. I'm going to go ahead and put one in here, though. Proud of my first revenue report. First rev report. Felt cute. Might delete later. Okay. So it's going to go off and do that for us. There we go. Oh, it's going to ask me to confirm, which is nice. So we've got our summary here. I'm going to say sure. That looks great. Execute a tool call. And my revenue report has been filed. Let's go hop over to FileMaker and prove that we created this record. Go ahead and just do a find on my username. I've got 5. I was submitting these earlier as practice. And here's the most recent revenue report. As you can see, that's the one we just created with the tool call. So we'll hop back over to our chat. Let's go ahead and ask it, what are my sales for the month? Get some summary data.
There isn't a script for that, right? There isn't a script for that.
I don't believe there is, actually. It's gonna figure it out. It's gonna use multiple tool calls to figure that out. So we're up to 2, 3. Yeah, there's a little more going on. We've got to traverse a number of tables. 4, and I believe it takes 5 for this, if I'm not mistaken. So it's busy doing the thing. I think it should be done here at this point. There we go. Summary for sales for the current week period, which it knows I didn't tell it that, but it figured all this out. We've got our monthly totals. Even gives me some suggestions. I'm missing reports for routes 6 and 7, and that we're currently in week 10, so still early. So it's being super helpful as an assistant this way. So now we've done our sales. I want to make a tool call to restock, since we are missing some drinks from our machine. Need to restock. And I'm not having to tell it I need to restock this machine with this ID at this location. It's part of the context. So very efficient. Nope. There we go. Just had a brief pause. So it's got my inventory it needed to pull up. So in order for me to do a restock to help me out with my data, I'm going to say this route, I'm going to say Cokes. Sold, I don't know, 20. Added, filled it back out. A Dr. Pepper. Sold, I don't know, 15. Added, didn't have quite enough to refill it all the way. Added 10 back. Got an optional comment. No. For RC Cola. Oops. Question. So I believe I've given it everything it's looking for here. Let me file both merch reports for you at the same time. And I get my summary. It's updated my inventory. It's even laughing at my jokes, which is fantastic. So I don't want to restock anything else. We're pretty much done here, but before I leave the machine, I noticed the cabinet light flickering, and one of the buttons is janky.
Janky. We'll figure that out. It's a technical term.
It is. It's very. And I didn't tell it I need to make a maintenance request here. I just said, machine works, but it's janky. It's got some problems. Knows what location and machine I'm talking about. I can file a maintenance report for you. Just confirm a couple of things. That all looks good. Do it. So we're going to call a tool. Thoughts. There we go. Got a maintenance report filed. Got it even summarized my description. It's a partial outage, so they don't need to take the machine out of service or anything like that. Something to think about here is, what if I didn't actually have a maintenance report table? How the heck would I file a maintenance report? It turns out there's a comment field in the machines table, and the model knows about that, so it might suggest that we log our request there instead. I did this with a different table earlier in the week, asked it to do something it didn't have schema for. And it said, rather than just saying, no, can't do that, it suggested that I use the comments field in a neighboring table in case I wanted to record it somewhere. So bottom line is, the model is going to try, and it's going to do everything it can to help you out. If I've done my job here today, I've got your wheels maybe turning a little bit. So you could imagine what else an MCP server and a good frontier model might be able to tackle. What if that revenue data was in Excel? I could have uploaded that Excel spreadsheet file to the chat instead. Matt actually did this a couple days ago when we were preparing for the presentation. As long as the column names match on the spreadsheet, or they're close enough for the model to infer it, absolutely can use that. I could probably even have used a photo of a handwritten note. Claude Opus is a vision model, right? So if the note had enough visual structure to it, pretty good chance that would work just as well. So other examples, I could make a tool call to Google Maps API. I could return directions, drive time. I could return a link that launches Apple Maps on a user's iPhone. I could use it to clock in, clock out, log my mileage. I could think of 100 ways probably to use MCP with our customers and in-house. And hopefully I've opened up your mind to some of those possibilities as well. Thank you.